So, in the spirit of creating more value than you capture, I'd like to bring up Greg Pollock from NV Labs. So, this is the 8th RailsConf we've had. And for the 5 previous RailsConfs, we've been lucky enough to have Greg and his team and a bunch of people contribute to the recognition and appreciation of the Ruby Heroes. So this is the Ruby Heroes Awards.
All right. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for the introduction. Appreciate it. So, like Ben said, this is now the 6th year of the Ruby Hero Awards. Right? In case you're wondering, last year, these are the 2012 award winners. And then if we go back in time, you can see here's some more award winners. Now, what's cool about looking back at these Ruby Heroes is that some of these people are really well known now. But at the time, they weren't getting as much recognition as they deserved. Right? So that's really why we created these Ruby Hero Awards. In my mind, it started with doing a podcast. Who here, just out of curiosity, who here listens to Ruby 5? Oh, I love you guys. Awesome. Twice weekly Ruby News podcast. And when you do this sort of thing, and you're covering people who create great open source work, you start to recognize that there's certain people that week after week or month after month are putting out a ton of content and open source and not getting paid for it. This is what they love to do in their spare time, and we end up covering it on Ruby 5. And so this is where the idea for the Ruby Hero Awards came out of, was how can we give back to these people? How can we give some of these people that go above and beyond for the rest of us, that make our community better, a little more recognition, and a round of applause on stage and an award? So a couple months ago, this is how we do it, in case you're not familiar. We put up this website, rubyheroes.com, and anybody can go on there and nominate somebody who they believe deserves an award. And it's not just, you type in their GitHub name. You actually have to type in a reason why you think they should win. Type in a couple words. And then because we don't want it to be a popularity contest either, it's not the person who gets the most votes that wins. What we do is we take some of the top 20 or 30 nominated people. We go back to, we got 890 nominations this year, by the way. It's pretty great. So we go back to these people, these Ruby Heroes, and together we come up with a consensus of who deserves to win an award just by looking at that list. People suggest new people, and then we vote. So normally, we have 6 heroes every year. But this year, we actually have 8. That's because there's 5 individuals and 1 organization. And there's 3 people behind that organization that are going to get some awards today. But before we get into it, I've got a few people to thank. First, I have to say thanks to Ben and Ruby Central for putting on this amazing conference. And also, they helped getting some of these Ruby Heroes here today to accept awards. And they should all be here in this room with any luck. Yeah. Also got to say thanks to everybody here who took the time to vote for your Ruby Heroes. I've got to say thanks to Code School, and everybody who works there. Previous years, I've on the stage when I've announced these awards, I've also used it as an opportunity to launch some of my own sort of community initiatives. In case you might remember, there was one year that I did the Rails 3 videos, announced those on stage. There was one year where I put up this free screencasting video, which is still up there if you want to learn how to do screencasting. And then this year, I've got something to announce as well, which I'm pretty excited about. See, a few months ago, about a month ago now, we put out this Rails 4 Zombie Outlaws course up on Code School. And today, we took all of the videos, and we're putting them up for free. So anybody can get access to 10 videos that cover all these great topics on Rails 4. The easy way to get to them is I just basically replaced the Rails 3 videos, so we can forget that ever happened and move on to the Rails 4 videos. How does that happen, though? I have to also thank for the bandwidth, because these are big videos, to pay for all that bandwidth, for all the downloads, I've got to thank Vidler, which does online video hosting for businesses. They're the ones that are helping pay the bill for all that bandwidth for all those videos. Oh, we can clap for them too. Okay. All right. Okay, enough for that. Let's get back to the Ruby Hero Awards. So I've got directions for the heroes and directions for you. If you're one of the heroes that's announced, please come up, and we're going to have you come up on stage, stand back here, get a round of applause. Your job, of course, is to give them all a very big round of applause. And also, continuing forward throughout the conference, gratitude is a really powerful force. It's this sort of gratitude, doing these awards, and taking the time to say thank you that I think drives a lot of people forward to do a lot of great things for the community, to be very selfless. So if you see these people in the hallway for the rest of the conference, please do take the time to go out of your way, if they helped you in some way, to say thank you. And for that matter, if you see other people in the community here that have educated you or created an open source project you used, please do take a moment to go out of your way, introduce yourself, and say thank you. All right, so let's jump into it. Hero number 1. Some of these heroes, I realized, I looked on the web and I tried to figure out which ways that kind of show you the contributions they give back to the community. And GitHub has this really interesting open source contributions thing, which I put up here. So this is the first hero's sort of contribution chart to open source. You can kind of see the patterns through GitHub. This person is a very active contributor to Rescue. He's also been a coach at many Rails Girls events around the globe. He's also a Friday Hug superhero. What's cooler than taking a picture of yourself giving a Friday hug? Because, well, that's pretty hard to top. But what's cooler than that is getting people around the world to do big group Friday hugs. And I found that this character has done this a few times. Here, Yoroku, Rails Girls Helsinki, Ruby on Rails, Rails Girls LA, Frozen Rails. And I gotta tell you, if you look closely at this picture, you're gonna notice there's that one guy. He's like, oh, it's Friday hug time. What, I gotta put down my water. Well, oh, okay, here. Oh, That's commitment. But this one person is probably most well-known and deserves our most thanks for the contributions that he's done with Bundler. It helped maintain Bundler, one of the most complex but important Ruby projects. In case you don't know by now, the person I'm talking about is Terrence Lee. Let's give him a round of applause. Okay. Yeah. All right. Moving on. Hero number 2. Now, some of the time, I'm going to actually read some of you guys the comments that people put when they nominated some of these people because they were really powerful. This next person, she's a role model speaker and makes people feel at ease while learning non-trivial development-related skills. Her video on solid Ruby design principles has improved my coding quality. Her Ruby book is the best addition to programming literature in quite some time. The book that I'm talking about here, who here, out of curiosity, who here has read this book? All right, a lot of people. It's a really good book. And you might have been lucky enough to see an amazing talk that she gave yesterday at RailsConf on testing. The person I'm talking about here is Sandy Metz. Let's give her a round of applause. Congrats. All right. Next up. Oh, this is a good quote. My goodness. His significant open source contributions have made a major difference in the quality and capability of our apps. He's friendly, willing to teach, and embodies a spirit of progression and cooperation that Ruby is all about. Some great quotes. Again, this is a really big open source contributor, also a really great blogger, and he's been around in our community for a really long time, and he's kept his open source contributions going pretty strong. I remember some of his work starting back with the Memcache client, and then that recently got sort of replaced by the Dolly Memcache client, which he also created. This is the default Memcache client on Rails 4 now. Also, another piece of work that I remember lots of people using is the Data Fabric gem for scaling active record with sharding and replication support. I've done some tutorials on that. He's done lots of other open source projects, including connection pool, pooling for Ruby. He's also been a big proponent for explaining how threading and fibers work in Ruby. And most recently, you might know him because he's the maintainer and creator of the Sidekick library. The person I'm talking about here, of course, is our third Ruby hero, which is Mike Perham. Good job. All right, on to number 4. All right, now this person has contributed to many different open source projects. I found that he did some work on, he created the async Sinatra library. He's contributed to projects like ZeroMQ. But mainly, what I've heard from lots of people and why he deserves an award is for his work maintaining and contributing to the RAC project. And sure enough, when I looked online, I found so many commits from him and so much support that he's given to the mailing list supporting RAC. Here's a good quote that somebody put in here. I don't think people know that RAC is mostly maintained by one person. Talk about a heroic effort. This person is James Tucker. Let's give him a round of applause. Thanks. All right, on to number 5. All right, this person has also been someone who's continuously given to our community over the last couple years. Most well known for his contribution to Rubinius, one of the most ambitious Ruby projects, and is being increasingly used in production, and it really opens up Ruby VM experimentation to many people. Also, he helped build the RubySpec project, which is incredibly important in the future of Ruby. His efforts to set up a process for further development of the Ruby language and formalize its features is also of huge importance for everyone who wants to keep programming Ruby in years to come. Out of that also came the great mspec project, right, which is the rspec syntax for framework for running Ruby specs. The person here that I'm talking about, you may know him as Brian Ford, but now he's Brian Shirai. Congrats. Thank you. All right. Okay, as I mentioned, the last one, we have heroes 6, 7, and 8. They all get it together. Right, so we're going to start with some interesting quotes that I found. This, in my opinion, is by far the most relevant thing that happened in the Ruby community in 2012. That was a good quote. What started as one workshop in Helsinki to gather women together and expose them to Ruby on Rails has spiraled into inspiring thousands of women and men all around the globe to come together and work to close the tech-gender gap. And since that meeting in Helsinki, I noticed that there were 76 more events around the world. They have a bunch of events coming up. And of course, the organization that I'm talking about is Rails Girls. How about a round of applause for Rails Girls first? And out of curiosity, who here has been to a Rails Girls event? More of you got to get out and help out, or be a coach and help these events. So there's 3 people that we're recognizing that have helped a lot with Rails Girls, helped make this happen. The 3 people here are Linda Likis, Kari Saarinen, and Henrietta Kakailainen, if I pronounced that right. Let's give them a round of applause. I'm sorry. All right. Thanks. Kari, sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry. And I should get an award for trying to pronounce those names right. So it's Kari Saarinen. And let me try it one more time. Henrietta Kakailainen. I don't know. It's close enough. Did I get close? Close enough. All right. So let's give one more round of applause to your 2013 Ruby Hero Award winners. All right. Go ahead. Oh.